Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. Today I am joined by Pheano and Dan. We are going to be talking about the RTN results, the huge rise of Kano, answer some of the questions that have been sent in as well. But Dan, Pheano, I know we all had our first RTN weekend here. Unfortunately, I think for most of us, or all of us, all the stores just said we are not hosting anything on Sunday. So we all only had like one RTN.
I would have driven like at least
East
3.5 hours.
Same. Like the whole East Coast
At least
was just
three
like
and a half, maybe 4, maybe 5.
Was like no Sunday event for anybody. So Dan, you had a CC event, right? Mm-hmm. How did your RTN go for you?
Went pretty well. So funny story before the RTN, as I talked about last week on last week's episode, I was going crazy trying to figure out what deck to play because I felt like there was no right answer. I continued that for the entire week. And then I think the day before or 2 days before, I was like, I'm just going to play Kasai. I want to like, worst case scenario, I'll learn how to play this deck that I have like 4 games on. So I brought that. My first game was kind of funny. Shout out to my opponent. I forget his name. But we were both very clearly playing Kasai for the first time in paper. Like both of us. So I look at the clock and there's like, we're halfway through the game clock. I'm like, hey, we're like halfway through the clock and like not even close to halfway through this game. Like we're both above 30. So we like sprinted to get through. We just barely did. He conceded when we went to time, but we basically finished the game. He was out of cards. No, so I went 5-0 in Swiss. Played 5 different heroes. Got lucky against a Kano. That was kind of cool. Felt great. I think the deck's like really nice and it just feels nice to play. Like it's pretty simple play pattern, but you get to do some flashy plays. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then in top 8, I didn't play so well against Tommy Fresh, but shout out to Tommy. Congrats on your Nats invite. I lost to Riptide. So like I actually had like no experience playing this deck. And like I just read that like you can't play the game normally and beat them. So you're supposed to like swing your saber. And that's it. Just swing saber every turn and block. I was also a little bit like sick and other things, but I played like an absolute donkey. I just literally just swung saber until I was out of cards. And then I died 10 this arrow because that's how you always beat fatigue as Ranger, which I know I played Ranger. So I got a top 8. Learned how to play Kasai. Learned how to never lose to Riptide again. Not bad.
I got a text from one of my buddies about that too, being like, "Oh my god, a Riptide beat Dan!" Because he's like one of my locals is a giant Riptide stan. So he's super excited about that.
The people around him were pretty happy.
What a clown.
Yeah, I should have just played the game normally and like at least learned what that looks like.
You were very generous. You were a very generous guy to say, hey, you know what? I'll get my invite some other time. You're playing Riptide. I'll give it to you this time.
You need it more.
Yep.
You need it more.
It's just frustrating from the ELO perspective. I do this so often, man. I'll like EXO Swiss and then lose my top 8 round and go like -2 points in ELO.
Well, be worse. Lose more games.
Speaking of clowns, I started off my RTN 0-2. Not a good start. Not a good start.
Were you draft or CC?
Draft.
Just okay.
Not to go too long-winded on it because I told the whole story on stream the other day, but wasn't sure what hero to draft. My packs were kind of weak. I ended up picking Brute because I got past some good Brute cards. Then 3 other people ended up. One person was forcing Brute from the beginning, and then 2 people moved in on Brute late. So then we ended up with 4 Brutes in the pod. And then one of the Warriors was hate drafting Brute cards. So it was just, my deck was not the best by the end. And I got a little unlucky on some of my draws. I was like in a spot to win my first 2 games and then just kind of had like an awkward draw in the middle of the game that like cost me all my momentum. And then the game just flipped instantly on that turn. Unfortunate. But then I won out from there, but can't start 0-2 in top. Like you just can't do that. Unlucky.
Yeah, pretty
skill
difficult.
issue.
I also had a draft. My draft got invaded by a bunch of people, which was fine. It's not a big deal. But like Yuanji, David Lee came down, Dalton came down to do the draft. It went super well. I mean, I sat down for draft 1. I drafted Warrior. I only lost to Yuanji, who I got a little bit unlucky. It was a very, very good game though. It was like round 1. And then win the next 2, draft a second time. I draft Warrior. I go 3-0. And then we go to top 8. I draft warrior again. And then I sit down from Dalton, who, is another teammate. It was pretty funny. Our top 8 at our RTN had 3 of the people that were in top 8 for Hartford, which was a pretty funny joke because it had David Lee, Yuanji, and myself. I then have to play Dalton. Dalton just runs me over with KO. I draft like a great warrior deck, and he's just like, you know what? I swing 3 times this round, and I was like, ooh, that was a lot. Maybe I should just play really defensive and hold on for the rest of the game. KOs normally can't do that. They like have a couple of big rounds, and then they like peter out, and then you get your value back. And he was just like, no, I don't do that. Here's another 3 damage round, and I was like, oh no. I can't handle this at all. I just died. He just straight up killed me, like basically 2 good attacks. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. We got 3 people qualified from the team because Yongji was also there as well in top 8. So that's fine. I'll get my invite at another RTN. But the rule still stands. The only people who beat Runaways in draft are other Runaways and Mark. So
And Riptide.
apparently Riptide, but that's not draft. People beat me in CC all the time. But,
no, that makes more sense. I agree.
Yeah. But it was fun.
Hey Dan, I think Cody might have a bit of a preference in draft as far as what he plays. Just like a little bit of a preference. What do you think?
Does sound that way.
I don't think so. I think I'll draft whatever is open. It just happens to always be warrior.
Well, that's how it goes, right? Like once you have that like persona, like it's going to be open because people don't want to be in your way, and then you're just stuck.
And
It's great.
Someone
Crazy.
cut me.
Prism's always open in Monarch.
It was funny because someone cut me in one of the packs, and I said no, I still warrior, and it was fine. Almost every single time the draft ended, the person who was passing me was like, "Well, I tried to go warrior, but it just didn't work out." And I was like, "I don't know. My deck's good. Like, I don't think it matters. Just depends on your strat. But I like warrior. I like drafting warrior. I should probably learn how to draft other things than warrior. That might be a good thing to know, like how to draft the other decks, when to draft them, not just draft the same thing every time. I was hoping to just force my way through the whole draft as warrior, get my top 4, and then like, okay, I'll learn the format after that.
Mm-hmm.
But we did have a pretty eventful, I think, week. We got I think half the team is qualified already from the first week. Unfortunately, most of us didn't have a second event to go to, so we just kind of twiddled our thumbs, and that was about it. Please, stores, if you could please, put events out. Like, it could have been any store. That thing would have sold out in minutes. Like, everyone
I
in the whole
one
area.
Of my stores, I like one of my stores in the area that like we go to regularly did it like at the same time as our other local store that like these stores like it's the same community, and we're like, bro, don't hold an event at the same time as the store that we both go to. So they're like, oh, I had no idea, and they moved it to Sunday.
Yeah.
I have heard some of them are done intentionally that way.
Yeah, I mean, some places
to keep people from us from playing all of them, spread it out.
There are some places. Also, I know of some stores who do it on purpose because they're the more popular of the two, and they would like the other one not to get business.
Yep.
I've been told that a couple of times when I asked certain stores. I always think that's pretty funny, but
I'm still curious what was going on at that one store that they had it on like a Wednesday last year.
That's just their locals night, I believe.
Yeah, they do it quite often on Wednesdays still, which is weird. I think sometimes they've advertised that like if it goes long, they'll like finish it on another day, and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah. But yeah,
All
that store's like 45 minutes away from me. So, but I don't go to it because it's a Wednesday night. Like by the time you get there in traffic, because it's like starts at like 6 or whatever, you're just like, dude, this is now an hour and a half drive instead of a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, I'd have to leave at like 3:30 to get there, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We're going to start off. We're actually going to answer some of the questions from the Discord. These are questions from our premium members. If you would like to ask questions on the podcast, feel free to join our Discord in the link below. The first question comes from Millen, and it says, is this meta really Kano versus a deck that can deal enough damage before he starts his combo? He says that his RTN looked like that, and a Kano won his RTN. So this is a hot button topic. It's been all over Twitter. Sometimes I get on Twitter and like I just see like the first post. I was like, I'll make a comment here, and then like I'm always surprised by like what happens sometimes after I just make an innocuous comment. Like it's just like in my mind, I'm just like a throwaway comment here, and then all of a sudden there's just like, why is this the case? What's going on here? And I was like, this is not as big of a deal as I thought. Like this is way bigger of a deal.
Oh yeah, that blew up today on Twitter.
Yeah.
might have had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, it might have something to do with Kano. I mean, I said what I thought, was kind of obvious, like an obvious statement. It was like, you don't want to live in a world where Kano is the best deck in the game. Like the comment was just about it being healthy, like the meta being healthy. And I was like, Kano winning the most games, like the most tournaments, not healthy. Like you don't want to live in that world where Kano is the best deck. But this question is this the meta? Is the meta just Kano versus decks that can race Kano? What do you think, Dan?
Well, theoretically, it should be like a self-correcting thing, right? Like Kano becomes really good and then people adjust to it. But is that what's happening?
Can you really adjust to it, though?
Sorry, Dan.
I was going to say, to answer the question directly, I think currently it was more a matter of like a lot of the popular decks in the meta just lose to Kano. Like they just lose. Like you just lose the game if they know how to play their deck.
Like Kasai.
I think that's why it did so well.
Yeah.
But yes, now certainly some number of people adjust. Either play more Kano, play less Kano, play more decks that beat Kano. We got to see.
Funny enough, from everyone who plays Kano, and I've played, games of Kano, so Kano versus any other deck, non-interactive, right? Kano versus Kano, super interactive. Like, so it's like one of those matchups like where for everyone else who's playing against Kano, this is the worst game they've ever played. For the two Kanos who are playing each other, this is one of the best games that they've ever played. That's basically how all the Kanos describe it. So it's like the one matchup where if you're like, I gotta play mirrors. Ooh, but mirrors are fun. Like it was kind of like how I felt about Icelander mirrors. I was like, ooh, but Icelander mirrors are actually fun. But
so I guess back to the question of is this what the meta is?
Yeah.
It might be turning into that where I think we need another week to find that out. Like I don't think that we can make that call yet. Like this week it looks like that. But to what I said a minute ago, it should be something that like Kano is a deck that people should be adjusting to if it gets good. And that it's like I've heard this comparison before, like Dredge and Magic. Like Dredge gets good, people bring in the hate cards for Dredge. Now Dredge falls in popularity because of the hate cards. People start cutting their hate cards, so Dredge comes back up in popularity. It should be something like that. But then that begs the question, is that the case actually with Kano right now? Like, I think that's a lot of people just kind of have that comment of just like, just add Oasis to your deck. But it's not that simple. It's not just add AB3 and Oasis to your deck. You can still just lose to Kano with those decks because it needs to be backed up by pressure. And I was going to have a whole rant about this on stream today, but instead on the podcast. So I guess touch on it a little bit here. I'll make a video on it later. But like you need to have that pressure back up. And with the downpowering of Fab, a lot of decks just can't do that. Like you don't have the damage output to force the Kano into a corner and make them go off into your Oasis. They just go, no, I'll block. Nah, I'll play a potion. None of this matters. I'm just going to keep setting up over here and I'll decide when I want to go off because nothing you're doing matters. And a lot of decks are like that right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a handful of decks that aren't like that right now, which I think is like a bigger issue. For a lot of the decks, even in like the mid-range decks, like Warrior, for instance, is like just terrible into KO or Kano, and might even just be not even matter if you put in Null Rune and Oasis, like, and you have Taken on the Chins. Like none of that actually really matters because you're not doing anything to them. They get to like block with a card and then like fish off the top of their deck for something, and then like, oh, I didn't get anything. I block. Go to your round. Or I block with 2 cards. Here's a 6. Which, what are you going to do as Kasai? You can't pitch a blue even if you have Null Rune because like most of the time you need the blue to play your turn, and so then you go to your round and you're like, even if you had the 2 blues, so you pitch the blue and then you go to your round and you go, oh, I do my thing. I play the blue. I swing with the weapon. I have go again. I swing my 8 damage. I have a 3 pump. Ooh, I got 11 damage in, and they're just like, no blocks. Let me fish off the top. oh, I got something here. I'll throw this at you. Go to my round. Here's another 6. Like, it's just like they have infinite time to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter if you have Oasis or not. And a lot of the decks like function that way where they can play really, Kano can play really efficiently. And the comment about like, you don't want this to be the best deck in the game because it's a non-interactive game. Like, it's not fun for new players. It's not fun for pro players. It's not fun for anyone who's has to sit down. The greatest example is my
It's not fun for coverage either.
it's not fun. Well, it's not that fun for coverage either, especially if it's like 5 minutes. Like, what was that?
Like 45 minutes of dead time.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Yeah, like now you're going to lose all this viewership because people are just going to walk away unless they have a good backup game. And do they have a backup game? Not every event they get backup games.
True.
I think Pro Tour usually they do, but agreed.
Yeah, my local, one of the guys brought Kano like 2 weeks ago, and like almost nobody played him. Like, they would just like sat down. He like showed him Kano, and they went, I scoop. Hey, someone else want to play? Like, that's a problem. Like, if the people don't even want to play into the deck, then like, come on, there's definitely a problem here.
It also feels bad that like the fix for fixing like the Kano matchup is to just play a different deck. Like, you can't fix it. You just have to play a different deck. Like, that's, I don't know. Feels bad, man.
I'm just saying. I know Kano is a completely fine deck when it's a fringe deck. When it's the deck that can show up, get a little lucky and spike, or it picks like the right opportunity to come into the meta. But when it's just like arguably one of the top decks, no one wants to live in that world.
It's a good dark horse.
It's a good dark horse deck.
You'd know.
About horses, but not about Kano. But yes, I think currently we will see. I have my own suspicion that we will not see as many Kano wins next week because I think a lot of the people brought Kano to their first one to get their win, and then they'll probably go play something else at their next ones. But if they had brought Kano again, they probably would just win again. I would really love to see the numbers of play. I want to see how many people brought Kano each week. That's what I really want to see. I don't know if we're going to get that type of information.
I don't know if we want to spend the time on it because like got other things we want to talk about and other questions, but like I think the next logical question would be if this continues in this direction, like let's say Kano keeps this level of win rate, level of play, like it's just one of the best decks in the game. Is that a problem and should something happen to it? And we don't have to talk about it now, but like I think that's something to think about. I've been always worried about Kano being this good and wanted something to happen preemptively before that happened. So now it's not, well, now you're killing a deck. It's like, it was always going to be a problem eventually.
Yep.
I think it's almost too late. Like, I'd be more concerned about the RTN season. Like, if we roll up with 50% of the Pro Tour playing Kano, like, that's fine, I guess. We'll just slam Wizard Mirrors and see who's the best. Like, I'm okay with that. But I think for RTN season is where it really hurts, and we're already a week in.
Yeah, I guess
negative play experience.
I agree. I don't know anyone who wants to play against Kano. Most of the time, it's the opposite. No matter what level of player you are, you sit down, you see a Kano, you go, eh. And then
I got tagged on Twitter once about that, being like Pheano like left my game or something like that, like just like calling me out for that. And then I looked at what the game was, and I was like, brother, I've never stayed in a Kano game in my life. The fastest lever in the West. I don't want to watch you play solitaire for 15 minutes. I have better things to do with my life.
Yeah, we'll see. We are watching this to see what will happen, and it'll be very interesting. Yeah.
We're watching.
Okay. So, we have the next one is by Mike, at Blackout Party. He says, this RTN season, which hero will have the most improved win rate over the 4 weeks of RTN, and which hero's win rate will fall the most over the 4 weeks? So what do you think? So we have our week 1. What do you think is going to get better going into the fall by the end of the season versus right now?
I could see Prism go up and then down.
Yeah, I mean, I think this might be Prism's week if Prism's going to have a week. It gives people I agree with that. It gives people enough time to learn the deck, but not enough time for people to learn how to play against the deck yet.
Mm-hmm. And then once people go, oh, next week they're like, okay, I'll bring my hate cards. Yep. That's not happening again.
You almost don't even need hate cards. Like for a lot of the decks, if they could just learn, well, some decks need hate cards, but for some of the decks, it's just like learn how to play into the prism, and it like cuts Prism's win rate in half. It's like a big deal. So that's a good call. I like that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dash. It's hard. It's like I don't know what the meta's gonna do. Like it's not gonna be Kano gets better, and then you can just counter the Kanos. Like I think Kano's gonna go down for sure. Probably because of what you said. Like the Kanos will get their win and then move on.
They'll get their win and move on. Yeah, I think so as well. That'll probably happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Kasai wins move forward. Either I think they were a little low in the past week, and we'll get into that. I would expect Victor to drop down, but man, people love Victor. I mean, I get it. Victor's fun to play. Clashing, drawing a card is it's so fun. There's nothing more fun than just a card and a gold.
I don't know. Prism's pretty fun.
Well, it's fun, and then your thing doesn't work, and then you go, this was not fun at all.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. You're either having the most fun or the least amount of fun when you're playing Prism. That is exactly how it works. I've never cackled so hard in the last year and a half than when I was testing Prism, and I've also never been as depressed as when I was when you're just you set up the combo and then your opponent's like scab skins 4. No, come on, and they just kill your lock, and the game just immediately ends, and you're just like, okay, well, that was a waste of time.
Move on to my life.
Okay. Next question here, by Siphon. By the way, Siphon, I believe, is putting out a video on his Victor. He played hundreds of games on this thing. I've been waiting patiently for this thing to come out because his win rate was insane. He's a big Victor stan. So he said it was 102 pages that he wrote out as a script beforehand.
Oh, I saw that tweet.
Yeah, that's him. But we're just waiting for the epic manifesto of Victor to come out. But he says,
remember that manifesto of why that guy was the best Oldhim player?
I do not.
I'll find that later. There's a meme floating around about that way back. We need to remake that meme about this guy where he's the best Victor player in the world.
Yeah. He says his question is, how do you structure team practices? Is it just jamming games, focusing on certain areas like blocking, pitching, deck building, or do people just take it upon themselves to practice under an official name? This is a very hard question to answer, I would say. That's a little deep into the secret sauce. We can give some of that away. I also know that at some point we're going to go on a guest podcast and talk about this topic as well, which would be pretty exciting. But I will say it's a mixture of everything. But the main part of practice that is important is spreading information that everyone is working on between everyone else in the team, while also giving direction to the group as a whole, so that you can get more eyes on problems.
I think you had in the question too, focus. Yeah. Focus is the key. Everything you're doing, there should be a focus, right?
Yeah, there's obviously some training aspects depending on what level people on the team are, or if they're going to something new. I know that's why it's great to have specialists. If you're hey, I'm thinking about playing this deck, can we jam together and you can catch me up real quick? Pheano did that for Lil for me when it came to Prism. I had been playing Prism on and off, and I would eventually get there myself. But having Pheano just yell at me a bunch while I was playing games, saved me 2 months of practice. It was 2 months of me figuring stuff out myself. He was just no, let's get on the same page real quick. And then we quickly got on the same page, and then we started working on the deck a little bit together on, hey, how do you want to play this matchup? How do you want to play that matchup? I think we had a call the night before Lil, where we're just what are we sideboarding? Where are we putting this stuff? And
I think 90% of it too is me just yelling at you, being you can go to 1 here, and you just be no, but I want to block. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go that low. No. The game is already over. He doesn't even know. You never take another point of damage again. No, yeah. Okay, and I trust.
That stuff takes months to learn, a lot of practice, and you were able to shorten that for me. And then I get 9th at Lil, and you top 8 with it. So obviously that's very effective.
Yeah.
But that's one aspect of it.
I think this is probably fine to say. Personally, I just make a point when I'm doing playtesting. I've been trying to make a point of even saying this on stream recently. When I sit down to play games, I don't just jam games. I think a lot of people do that, and they don't get a lot out of their practice and their playtesting. Is just spamming games with no objective in mind. When I sit down to play, I pull up a Word document to the side, and I write myself some questions I want to answer. How does this card perform in this matchup? What about this game plan? If I see this card, and if it was a wild card, is there any other card in the game I would rather it be right now? I just go through different questions I have going into the game before I sit down, so that way during the game I can think about these things because I already have the question posed to the side, and then after I finish a game, I try to review it a little bit and kind of think to myself like, could I have done something differently? Did these card choices matter? Did this interaction matter? And like kind of go through it before just jumping into the next game and reviewing it. You can kind of, if you want to see that more, go watch my stream. Like I do that a bit there, so you can kind of see what that process looks like. I think that's super important, so you can get more out of your playtesting. Like you made fun of me for this last week. I do way less playtesting than I probably should, but I try to get the most out of each game instead, so that way I can maximize my time. I could also just play more, but like.
I agree. You should be doing everything with intent, right? It's like you should know why you're playing the game you're playing, why you're playing that matchup, why you're playing the cards in your deck.
Yep. And like a team helps structure that, point in the right direction, discount certain things, so you're not doing it with just like doing it randomly or loosely. And then it helps everyone catch up onto whatever has been found or decided or where people want to go. I mean, like our Icelander testing for nationals, we've mentioned many times, but it's like a very good example of that, where it was just like bits and pieces from each person came together like over the course of us practicing. And then it just like, we all were on the exact same page, same game plan, same deck. And then like, we all had the same experience after that, which is, it would have taken us all individually so much longer, if ever, to get there. Right. Okay. Really good question. Okay. Let's dive into the main topic, which we've touched on a little bit already, but let's review kind of the RTN season so far, the whole one weekend, right? And what we think about this, what it says. I mean, we can start off by saying I'm going to read through some of the wins and we can, talk about it. Obviously, the big winner, we already mentioned this, is Kano, who won 12 RTNs. That's a lot of RTNs. Wasn't that
what's the sample size?
That's like 11% of RTNs.
Can you drop the thing of it so I can have the visual?
Yeah, I'll let me send it over to you. But that's a lot. That's a huge portion of the RTNs. It might even be a little higher than that. I think it's higher than 10%. I'd have to do the math on that. Here you go. But Kano never done it before. We've never seen this before from Kano. So obviously kind of a big deal.
Never been seen before. Never been done this great.
And I think we talked pretty much in that. Anyone have anything else to talk about the Kano problem?
No, it's concerning. Not unexpected, I don't think, but
not unexpected. We definitely thought Kano was going to be good, but concerning. Okay.
Yeah, my only thought was just like, not that many people identified it was going to be good going into that Realm event that we went to, and the people that knew, and then it did well, and then it did well at a Battle Hardened immediately afterwards. So it's like, I feel like that's been enough time for people to adjust. Like it's not like it wasn't on people's radar. This isn't like blindsiding people. Like, oh my god, Kano? That's crazy. I think most people knew it was a good deck.
But the only adjust is to not play the deck you want to play.
My only thought would be like maybe people not realizing people are going to play it locally, because like in my area, there's not that many Kanos. So if I go to my CC thing this weekend, and a bunch of people are on Kano, I'm going to be kind of surprised because like there weren't that many people prior to this even thinking about Kano. So that was a lot of people that learned it in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So like maybe there could be some amount of people not expecting that much to show up and them being surprised because it's a local meta. But that's the only thing I could really think of.
I don't know. The thing I read that I loved was the tinfoil hat theory that people accidentally clicked Kano instead of KO. That just made me laugh like a
I think
lot.
it's very possible though.
No, that stuff. There's no way LSS would have that of details, right? I am pretty sure.
I hope so.
Every time I've won like a pro quest or whatever since we've been doing this, they ask me specifically what I played. I think they reconfirm it when they send it to LSS, the info. The store does. So maybe all the stores accidentally clicked the wrong. They said, I played KO, and they went Kano. Okay, there we go, and they just clicked that one.
It's the same tinfoil hat as the 998 people. Like 2 points off. Someone maybe somewhere.
Someone didn't count properly. Okay. The next little grouping we have here is Dash and KO. They both got 8 wins this last weekend. I think the KO is expected, right? We might have expected KO to be number 1 in wins, to be fair.
So, I would have thought it would have been flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like both decks do what they do consistently, right? Like KO's consistent aggro deck, Dash is either consistent aggro or setup deck. Does that make sense to me?
I think the Dash is a little surprising. How many wins it got? Not like, oh, this is not something we expected, but like I would have expected more like 4 or 5. I expected in the maybe a lower range. I guess it depends on. I wish we knew which kind had won. If it was like the fatigue dash or if it was boost dash, because I wouldn't really expect that many boost dash to win. Like I expect a couple boost dash, maybe a couple fatigue, but this is a little bit higher than that. KO
could just be a popularity thing of how popular Guardian's been.
Yep. Victor,
like
specifically.
Yeah, Kano is the same as Kano, right?
Now we get to the real meat of it, right here. It's Drove My Victor at 7, tied with each other. I think I think the Victor's a little unexpected. He does have some bad matchups, but he is very fun to play. I feel like he's been very popular at RTNs. I would love to see numbers of people who brought Victor and like the actual
like he's
conversion.
The most popular deck.
It does feel like he's the most popular deck.
But like he's up there.
Which would make the Dash make more sense.
Yes. Yep. It might that's really what like our numbers are missing is like how many people brought these things. Because if we're looking at like, not very many dashes, but they all got there because they played a bunch of Victors, then that makes sense.
Yep. I expected 50% Victor at my RTN.
Yeah. It's been popular. I understand why. It's fun to play. And then Dromai always doing well, picking on people. I think Dromai, well, to be fair, Dromai usually does well at local events and usually
I think it's a great RTN deck.
Big events. It is definitely a great RTN deck.
You make one mistake, like the game's super over, right?
Mm-hmm. And people are bringing like wild stuff that aren't even good into Dromai. So a lot of the times, the Dromai shows up to an RTN and only plays like 2 or 3 real matches in Swiss. Like they might get paired into like the Arachne player or something. The person, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever it might be,
or the Prism.
So most of the time they only have to win a couple of matches in Swiss, which is unlike a lot of the other decks, at least at the local level. It's different. We haven't seen Dromai translate very well lately in big events. Bravo hanging around at 6 like he always does. Bravo's average. Bravo. He's average. I think this is the most average Bravo's ever been. He just like his matchup spreads just kind of like got worse with HH, but he's still like good enough that it's fine.
As always, he's the you got to be this tall to get on the ride deck.
Yep.
Sometimes people aren't tall enough, so he crushes them.
I think Dory and Kasai both winning 5. That's my big surprise right there of the weekend.
I would have thought like more Kasai, less Dory.
Yep. It felt like, or that people would just play Kasai more because she was newer. But I expected
not even like a power level of Dory thing, just like just raw number of people playing Kasai. I would have expected more. People really like that hero.
Agreed.
Yep. I mean, Kasai can't win if Kano was winning, though, right? Kano, rather.
Kano, yeah. Agreed.
I think that's the worst part about this whole thing. Come on. Got to name the heroes one letter off from each other. You just hate us.
And it's like the same pronunciation. You just like say it a little harder.
I don't know. I think Kasai's a good deck, but it just has just matchups that's really bad into. Like, it's just not going to win a tournament if it runs into the Dromai or the Kano in the top cut, or sometimes Riptide. That might happen too. But the Dory one is surprising to me. I want to know, I really want to know what these Dory players are playing. Like, really badly. I want to know, like, what their setup is. Are they doing Sabers? Are they doing Hatchets? Are they doing Great Axe? Are they doing Dawnblade? I just want, like, more information. If you're a Dory person and you've been playing Dory and beating everyone, please tell me. Tell me what you're playing. Give me the sauce. It's like this. I play Talishar like every day. I never play against a Dory. I look, there's like 11K Dory games played, and I'm like, where are all these Dories coming from? I never get to play any of them. I played like everything else. No Dory.
They're not in the request undo queue.
They're not in the request undo queue. I have too many. Man, they really should be though. You know, a lot of people will be like, you're like, reaction, like undo, block. Katsu at 4, not surprised.
Yeah.
I think Katsu's like fine.
I'd believe like any number for Katsu.
Katsu scares me. He's scared me since the beginning of the game. Every time I sit across from a Katsu, no matter how good of a plan I have or what deck I'm playing, there's always that part of me in my soul that shakes with fear of like.
Dude, he's just a jerk.
He is a very big jerk.
It's like one bad turn and you're at 2 life.
It's worse now when they're playing like the pouncing links, and then like they hit with one thing and they go, I can tutor my deck for 3 cards. And you're just like, can you not like,
no,
please.
It's like too late. There's no like coming back. You already made the mistake. You just got to like take it now.
Yep. And they just hit you. It turns into a 30 damage turn and you go, well, the last 7 rounds didn't matter. And that's like the power of Katsu, right? Here's another one. Azalea Prism. I think the Prism is expected. Azalea has been a dog. Oh my gosh. Azalea's done nothing in HH. What's going on with Azalea?
I thought she'd been a little higher.
No, but seriously.
A good deck. She's good.
She's good. What's going on with Azalea?
The power's there. I don't know.
Should be.
I thought it was a problem.
I also thought it was a problem. It is a problem. It's less of a problem, apparently.
Yep. I also thought there was like the type of person that plays Azalea seems like a stand that's just like gonna play Azalea no matter what. Mm-hmm. So like was that not the case and some other decks absorbed their market share?
And the Azalea players are saying this is like the worst meta for it. I've seen that discourse. I
just find it odd. I'm just not sure what matchups they're really struggling into.
I guess Brute.
They really should be ahead of KO. Number. Yeah.
Like I can still throw a big number if you read me. I don't know.
That one might be the biggest bust. I think almost everyone had Azalea at like top of the rankings going into HH season, and it's not looking good for Azalea. Problem resolved itself.
Now we got a different.
Now he's got Kano.
Now we got Kano.
Yeah,
I miss Azalea.
We got a different non-interactive deck.
Yep. Then we have Fi Azuri at 2. They got 2 whole wins.
That's low for Fi.
That is a little low for Fi.
Historically, Fi does pretty well at the RTN ProQuest level.
And then
I think it's Victor.
Didn't get much worse.
Victor just like
Victor just dumps on
that
Fi.
deck, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's also we got the new. We also got the new helmet. That's an L for him. I feel like more people are playing That All You Got. That's not good for him. It's not the end of the world, but like you're not like sitting down excited to see everyone's packing a couple of those in their deck.
Man, if he was just better into Victor, I think he'd be in a fine spot. I think his spot would be completely fine. But his Victor match is so miserable. Like sometimes Bravo felt miserable. Nothing is more miserable than Victor. They're just like block, draw card. Oh, hit you for 9. I'm so efficient. Like it's so annoying. And then all the one boys. We got the Bolton, the Renar. That's the new Reinar. And then we have Levia, and then my man, the Vincent. I don't know who this is. Who is this Vincent person? Give me your sauce. I want to know
I gotta
what they.
say, those
What was
three at the front there are my most surprised to not see a bit higher. I guess Bolton makes a little bit sense. Like, there's not that many Bolton. Like, I don't see Bolton being a popular deck, even if it's good.
Yeah.
But the Reinar Levia, I'm surprised we don't have more of those. Like,
What?
there's a lot of people out there that love those decks, and like they've been waiting for this moment.
Hold up. This is like the first time Levy has ever
this is
gotten
a
LL
record,
points. Right? This is a record. Like, we internally, yes, we expect more Levy to have won because we have Ethan. And,
this is unprecedented.
But this is like a really big deal. She's never gotten LL points before.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes.
No,
This is her
it's
first-
not that, right? I
Isn't
thought
this
this
her
was like
first
the first
one?
time that she got points the first week. So I listened to Ethan's video, Mansan, of course.
Yeah.
He did a deck tech with Mo
I thought this was
Bogsley,
our first
who was the
points
winner.
period.
No, I think he was saying she's gotten one win maximum every season, but this is the first time that she's won the first week.
Is it?
If I am coding that correctly.
Either way, it is one of few wins that have ever happened at RTNs.
She has a total of 28 points.
Okay. But this
Not
is
not great.
Not
great.
So, one Levia win, still big deal. Vincent win. Oh, really big deal. Please give me the Vincent. Oh man, if someone solved Vincent against Bravo,
I think we found a new deck.
I'm playing it at Pro Tour. If someone could just solve Vincent versus Bravo for me, please. If you want to put in the comments or send us a message and say, hey, I've solved this and let me know, I will bring it to Pro Tour right now. I'll lock it in on a podcast. I'll come back the next week and be like, we've solved it, boys. We're in. And we'll lock it in. But until that can happen, where your opponent can't just ooga booga, no brain, I block, you lose. Very scary. But I'm very impressed by the Vincent getting a win. I wants to see deck, please.
Anything missing here that you guys are surprised about? No Teklos. We were talking about that.
They can't win, but they can top, but they can't win.
If they get the All Guardian bracket,
yeah. I wish Teklo was better.
Like, we have enough RTNs. Someone will get lucky and get the All Guardian bracket and get their first points.
Maybe. I don't think there's anything else I'm very, unexpected.
No, I think Max could have snuck in a win this week.
Yeah.
Same reason as Kano and Item Dash. Just beats up the slow decks.
Yeah.
Now it'd be too late though.
I know you were a big Max guy. You took it to the 20K. You
Yeah,
haven't talked about it since then.
Yeah, I'm just like pretty far off of it now.
Yeah, you got in the hype train.
But I do think it was reasonable for this week.
Maybe.
It's just not that good. Dash is just better. It makes me so sad. Everyone just kept saying, I was like, no, because you have the extra 2 for 6s and 1 cost 5s.
Copium.
Dash is just better.
You're like, yeah, but if I do this and then I wait for this other card to come, well, I have another card set, and then I go no blocks, and then I win the matchup, and I'm just like, that's a lot of things that you have to do, sir.
I did start to spend a day on Max because I played like every deck, and as soon as one Arc Smash got cast, I would just threw it away. I'll come back when roots are like all LL'd.
Have to do. I don't know. I think so far, if we just chopped Kano.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, I got at least one. CC. Yeah. Still don't know what I'm playing.
Yeah. That's for the testing. I also have no idea what I'm playing yet. Dan, you got 2? Are we going to one of the same ones this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be at the portal for CC on Sunday.
Oh, you got in before they sold out? Because I'm pretty sure they sold out.
I'm pretty sure I signed up like within an hour of it going live registration. Okay. My brother texted me. And then I have Gilded Raven draft on Saturday. First draft RTN. I'm excited.
We're gonna see each other at both events.
Oh, you're going to Gilded? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm going to Gilded.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go draft Warrior.
I called there's a Warrior.
I sit down, I Warrior, and then someone else is telling me that they're Warrior, and I'll still be Warrior.
Oh, I think I'm actually going to 2 this weekend. I think I'm going to a draft on Sunday.
Great.
Unlucky.
Unlucky.
Time to O2.
No, we have to get our invites, and then we can play whatever we want. I really want to bring
I'll get that at
Prism
this.
to an RTN, but I don't want to
I'll
bring
get
it.
at this TC one.
I don't want to bring it if I still have to qualify. Because
I feel confident you and I will both get it done this weekend.
I was very confident I was going to get
Or
it done
back.
this last
Not me.
weekend, and then Dalton was like, "No." But we're going to have a bunch of
Wow.
Runaways there, so you know the rule: only lose to Runaways and Mark. So we're going to lose to each other.
Probably, yeah.
Fly out, Mark.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for us today. I'm going to go try and find a deck to play at an RTN and maybe at Pro Tour. Who knows? There's nothing's good. Kano scares me. Bye, guys.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the envelope here,
Seven
but
envelope.
What we could do
in
here is go ahead
darkness.
and play the envelope.
All 3 pitches of envelope and darkness.